All right. Well, no reason really not to get started. We'll get the housekeeping out of the way early. So again, thanks for hopping in this Thursday. I think this is like the 26th or 27th edition of the Unicorn Hunt. So obviously something I have a lot of passion for. And thanks for joining us this afternoon. Joined as well by four companies, five founders, all raising live with offerings on Republic. So I'll be sending through the campaign links as they're presenting to you, as they're asking some questions. So please do feel free to ask questions as well. Um, so with us today, very excited. IP3, we've got Christine Liu, as well as her co-founder Sarah Weinstock. Representing my coaching tree, we've got Philip Engel. Upside, Tom McCauley, just a little bit under the weather today, so we're joined by his co-founder Sam Williams, and then Kevin Sprage, also actually traveling, I believe, last minute work trip. I think on planet Earth, but nevertheless a work trip here at the last minute. So we're joined by Executive Chairman Matt Goad of Zero Gravity. So brilliant line of panelists today. You'll hear more and learn about them in just a minute here. Of course, everything you heard today is not financial advice. Please do your due diligence before making any investment decisions. And just understand that investing in the private markets is particularly risky as well. With that note, or with that said, I would love to pass it over, Sarah, to yourself and Christine. Tell us a little bit more about IP3.
Okay,
Sarah,
Christine.
you want to go first with your highlight reel?
I'll just give a brief introduction of myself. I'm a media and entertainment exec. I've spent 22 years working across, actually a little more than that now, across three major Hollywood studios, as well as independent production companies, and also in the VC world, early stage investment into media and entertainment companies. And I've also been in the Web3 space for the last 3.5 years-ish. So that is my background. And I'm a co-founder as well as the COO and CFO of IP3.
And I am Christine. Hi, everyone. My background or highlight reel, 2 decades in cross-border business between Asia and the US. Past decade, mostly in early stage tech startups. So VC, but crossed over to entertainment. And this is how we met Sarah and our other co-founder here, David, who couldn't be with us today. About 8 years ago, I started investing in entertainment and got really interested in the convergence of tech and entertainment, and really excited to share with you. One more important note is David, who couldn't be with us today, is kind of the impetus for this. His family background, both him and his father, Michael Uslan, are very well known in Hollywood for specifically for his father's role in bringing Batman to the world via film. So the family is, David's father, Michael, is the originator of the Batman film franchise. So that 1989 movie, that backstory took 10 years to build from the moment that he acquired that license, is actually a very big inspiration for IP3 now. And we'll make that connection in a bit. But what I'll do is I'll dive right in. I hope I share this deck, and you'll be able to find, is the deck being shared now? Let me see.
Not quite yet.
Okay.
There we go. Coming in.
All right, awesome. You'll be able to follow through. This actually follows through our actual Republic page, but I wanted to be able to give more context to what we're doing in the space and why. So IP3, we are an incubator and investor community of next generation entertainment IP. And as I mentioned previously, our inspiration is this man who, Sarah and I just consider a mentor in his example of how he has worked and advocated for creators. The inspiration for why he brought Batman to, the big screen was actually being a lifelong fan as a child of Batman, and having a visceral reaction, as he would say, to the 1960s version of the Batman TV series. And he vowed from that moment that he would bring the Dark Knight to film. And I say that in a way, those of us who are comic nerds, anime, manga, any kind of entertainment, and hold that close to us, he has created this lifelong passion and dedication to doing exactly that. So in the 1970s, he took it upon himself as a young entertainment lawyer to save up some money and purchase rights to the Batman film franchise from Warner Brothers, from DC and Warner Brothers. So that's a deal that I don't think anyone's going to do again. But in yes. So that is our inspiration. Now, Sarah and I have been working with David for a number of years. He is part of the father-son duo production team that is the Uselins. And it was interesting. The origin story, I would say, for IP3 was back 2 years, almost 3 years ago during the NFT bubble, I would say, right? When Web3 came about. And whereas everybody was all about, flipping NFTs and all this crazy stuff, me as, VC, and Sarah as someone who comes from entertainment, what we were seeing were creatives in the world outside of the Hollywood structure being able to very quickly gain thousands of fans and supporters. And then through the process of leveraging NFTs and Web3, being able to finance, in my lens, seed fund their ideas outside of both VC and outside of Hollywood. And I went straight to David, and we're in a diner in Studio City, and I said, there's something here. Because if you're telling me time and time again that Hollywood is lacking new ideas constantly, and the structure is set up to not take risks. That's why we have, I don't know, Avengers 20 something, right? What this I just had a gut feeling in my, can you imagine if when these creators that are, in this NFT world, what's possible when we marry that with the ecosystem that you and your father have built over the last 2 generations. And so this grid actually is a cleaned up version of a placemat. And I've got that picture I've shared on Twitter so many times, a placemat where David, proceeds to scribble all these boxes. Okay, this is what they're going to need. It's not enough to be like an artist with a lot of followers. It's not enough to be this. You need all these little boxes in order to create successful IP franchises. So this is the backstory that I wanted to share that's not always obvious of how IP3 came about. And so you'll be able to go through the rest of our Republic page, and all of this information is there. We even go through the process, because IP is thrown around a lot as a term these days, but we even go through a process of telling people what our version, what our focus in the intellectual property world is. And so for us at IP3, the three main forms of IP that we focus on are co-created IP. And that just simply means we partner with artists and we partner with creators to develop IP with them, where they bring the creativity and the community, and we bring the ecosystem of how to actually turn that into something that is going to be a global franchise. We also have our own ideas, because Sarah and I are from the community, so we call ourselves part-time degens, if you will, but we're right there in the trenches with them, and we also have our own ideas. And so a good portion of IP3 is also going to be developing original IP in the incubator. And the exciting part that I think is very relatable that we're starting to see in the beginning with Web3, it was something that felt like a very, kind of bubble world. And then you had entertainment and traditional Hollywood. We're seeing the convergence of that. And so I am super excited about what this kind of next phase of the Web3 ecosystem looks like, because then you have original IP. And when you have the trust, I'll give you an example of the Batman in concert. When you have, original IP that wants to reach new audiences in new ways, leveraging technology, blockchain, and all the bells and whistles, that is also where I feel we are going to be well positioned. So these are just an example of the different projects that we have had in development. We've been a little quiet about it. The overused term in the startup world is in stealth mode, but we really have every single one of these. There are creators and founders behind it and strategies. And so we have been self-funding IP3, the three of us, for the past 2 years. And we're at this point where we're ready to go. So what's interesting, and I'll be really honest, Sarah and I are used to raising money. That's not the problem, right? So the biggest part where the biggest challenge is we have never had to actually raise small checks before. We're usually the ones that go in and go, to our usual network and say, hey, seed round, $500,000, a million, you got 2 weeks, come in, or we're going to so-and-so. And then Series A and Series B, we're used to raising institutional money with a very small group of people. But we couldn't, in integrity, call ourselves IP3 with the 3 and B of and in the Web3 community without being inclusive of and building our own community around what we're doing. And so hence this amazing opportunity to be on Republic. It's a little nerve-wracking trying to convince a bunch of people to come in for a minimum check size of $500, but we're willing to do that too. And we really wanted to make it something that was educational and also for the investors, because we've all been there ourselves as angel investors, something that actually brings value to the investor community, whether it is letting them in on early stage deal, creating events. And this is where my next part goes. We're creating this kind of community ourselves of people who are supportive of what this next phase of, intersection between tech and entertainment looks like. And that, there's perks to that. There are different, opportunities and events. We hold a big event at Comic-Con every year. And so these are the things that, as investors, as, early stage investors, you'll be able to participate in. And this is just the phase that we're in. Like I said, we spent 2 years kind of building in stealth. And we're at the current phase of what we call that investor phase. Our next phase after that, after our round closes, we kind of go back into just hyper focusing on our community. So if it is 1,000 investors or more or less, that is going to be who we carry along for the ride. And then off we go to developing these, these entertainment franchises. We've got a great group of, founding team and investors already and advisors. And yeah, that's it. I can know I could talk forever, but I think I'll stop there.
Christine, enormous thank you. And gosh, what a fascinating crossroads it is, media, entertainment, and tech. We're only just at the beginning of how the two of those are going to collaborate with one another. So very excited for the both of you as well as the rest of your team. And this is for both IP3 and anyone else. Everyone tuning in, please do send some questions into the chat roll through the Q&A function in Zoom as well. We'll definitely have a time for a Q&A towards the tail end of this presentation here. But to not waste any more time, yes, and thank you very much, Christine and Sarah as well. Philip, would love to pass it over to you. Tell us a little bit more about My Coaching Tree.
Sure, love to.
Sports a little bit.
Love to. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, coming through just fine.
What an awesome company, Sarah and Christine. I never thought I would follow Batman in a presentation. So I'm going to share my pitch deck. Maybe not as exciting as Batman, but it is to me. I spent my entire career as a serial entrepreneur. That's about 38 years. I've had 3 successful exits. They've all been in education and public sector. The last business I sold in 2016 dealt with the sports industry, specifically education-based sports, although we did do some work in the professional realm. And the sports industry as a whole is undergoing a great deal of change. Almost every professional athlete out there started in youth sports, sport programs for athletes under the age of 18. Youth sports is one of the, get to the next slide. Yeah. Youth sports it's really the foundation of the entire sports industry. The youth sports market is already larger in revenue than the NFL and any of the other professional sport metrics, which is really fascinating. The commercialization or enhanced commercialization of college sports in recent years, combined with the significant growth that the youth sport market is seeing right now, starting to attract some institutional money. In fact, in the past 30 days, I've taken phone calls from 3 PE firms and 1 venture capitalist with a very ambiguous goal to make an investment in sports tech. So there's a lot of money being poured into the sports industry right now. I've been in this industry for more than 25 years, and the overall increase in investment is just unprecedented in my experience. But, sorry, I'm having a problem with my deck here. All this growth, all the money that's being poured into it, it's threatened by a very significant shortage of coaches at the youth and at the college level. This industry is losing quality coaches left and right, even as the demand grows. Professional sports leagues recognize this, and they're spending millions of dollars to foster youth sport programs and provide guidance for coaches. They recognize that the pipeline of athletes they depend on is being threatened. The component we have for coaches is a community networking platform designed to foster mentorship, collaboration, online learning, and we've got an AI-driven search tool. Our platform, we help retain good coaches that are in industry right now, and we help develop new coaches that don't have a mentor, don't have a resource to go to in order to develop professionally as a coach. We partnered with universities like Texas A&M's Thornton McFerrin Coaching Academy, companies that provide instructional content like CoachTube, and individual coaches like Coach McGuire from Texas Tech and Coach Rule at the University of Nebraska. We put together the most comprehensive curation of instructional content for coaches anywhere in the world. My partner, who I'll talk about in a minute, he always says it's like a coaching clinic in your pocket. Our largest revenue stream will be, it's not currently, but it will be talent sourcing, basically helping employers fill open positions with the most qualified candidates. So I mentioned before, we've got an AI-driven process to match employers with those coaches that's actually been in place for almost 4 years during our proof of concept phase. And it goes beyond just matching up credentials like your typical job search engine does. We take into consideration career goals, personality profiles, and a lot of other intangibles to match employers to specific jobs. Each one of the revenue streams in our plan is dependent on member growth. So member growth is our primary focus right now. We had a goal to reach 41,000 members this year. We had 22,000 members on January 1 of this year. We're currently now at 66,000 members. So we're 60% ahead of our membership goal for 2024. And with that increase in membership, we opened up our sponsorship revenue stream for the first time in July. And since July of this year, we've increased our ARR by 377%. So we're way ahead of our metrics based on the plan we originally put together. We've got 5 planned revenue streams. Talent sourcing, as I mentioned earlier, essentially job ads. Content sales, sales of online learning, and through Texas A&M, we're working on a certification course with them. Sponsorships is a revenue stream. We do a lot more than just advertisement on our platform. We try to integrate our sponsors into our community in a meaningful way related to our online learning process. Coach subscriptions, coach memberships are free, but there's an upgraded subscription that a coach can purchase that gives them discounts on content and access to more extensive membership tools. And then data licensing. We've not tapped into this revenue stream yet, but there's already an appetite for it. We get regular calls, outreaches from media outlets that want access to our data to enhance their broadcast and enhance their published printed material. Excuse me. Our plan right now is to grow our membership to 250,000 members. There are upwards of 1.3 million coaches in the United States. And getting to that 250,000 mark is a benchmark we want to achieve to really be able to grow our other revenue streams and establish ourselves as a first to market and take advantage of that. We've already sold equity to several coaches, from high school coaches to college and professional coaches already. We did an angel raise in 2021 where we raised $300,000, and now we're going through this Republic crowdfunding raise, primarily to give more high school coaches an opportunity to purchase equity in the company. Those coaches that have invested so far have a very strong sense of ownership in the company and in our mission. And we feel at a lower price point, every high school coach that invests in the business will turn into an evangelist for us with their peers around the country. From a leadership standpoint, I started a business in '99 in this industry. I sold that business in 2016. I've had 3 successful exits in my career, as I mentioned. My partner was a college and a high school football coach. And this man won 5 state championships in football in Texas, which is really difficult. There are less than 20 people, I think, in the last 100 years that have accomplished that goal. Then he retired from coaching and became the executive director for the Professional Association for Coaches in Texas, which is the largest association of its type in the world. It has 27,000 members. Those are all high school coaches in the state of Texas. So really successful career growing that organization. Then he retired from that and he joined me to start this business. So I guess some people just can't sit still, but I'm glad he stuck with it and joined me in this process. One of our board members, Andy Beal, he started a company called Max Preps back in the early 2000s and grew it to be the largest source of high school contest results until he sold that business to CBS at a great valuation. So together we have more than 100 years of experience in this industry working together. So we've already got a very established bond, professional rapport amongst one another. We have a very in-depth, detailed knowledge of this industry. We're very knowledgeable about the challenges that coaches face and employers in this space face. And our platform is solving some real problem. This is where we sit at the moment. I'm very happy and honored to be able to serve on this panel with all these other awesome companies. I'm interested in hearing about everybody else and love to answer some questions when we get to that part of the agenda.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much, Philip. Yeah, that's a great team you have behind you. So I came from Texas. I definitely know that name, but I
Oh,
had to
did you?
remind myself. I Googled him, and the person right next to him is Tom Landry, as people you may know or you want to search for. So definitely a
Yeah,
lot of esteem there. That's awesome.
yeah, thanks.
Well, let's keep it with sports, and I'm really excited to pass this over to Sam Williams, co-founder of Upside as well. Tell us a little bit more about what you're up to.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me well?
Yep, coming through just fine.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for giving us the opportunity to share a few moments with you today. It's quite exciting. I'll start with my background, which is as a former athlete and having an extensive background in executive personal development, coaching, working with the founders of companies Endo Pharmaceuticals, Power Home Remodeling Group, which is the second largest home remodeler in the country outside of Home Depot, the founder of Jamestown and Associates, a pretty renowned political advertising firm, and several others. Our co-founder and CEO, Tom McCauley, has well over 15 years of experience in the sports gambling industry, having successfully launched 2 different products, one being Daily Number, which is the first of its kind, a bet against the house daily fantasy product that he successfully launched with Super Bowl champion Richard Sherman. And then there is our real-time brackets technology that is our patented technology that is digital March Madness bracket that allows you to change your pick in game, in tournament against the CMO, Tom Alexander, who's a former executive for Comcast, having led major campaigns with Cartoon Network and several others. Then we have our CTO, a gentleman by the name of Zan Geer, who is a rock star, has his doctorates in MIT in computer learning and engineering, And bringing it home is our other co-founder, Mark Brenner, who is a former CEO and founder of TVG, which is a company that offered the first form of legal online wagering in the U.S. So we've got a pretty good amount of extensive experience in our founding team as it relates to the industry and otherwise. I should say the inspiration that brought us all together was an opportunity that our CEO and co-founder Tom McCauley saw, which was sports gambling becoming legal eventually in the United States. And so he got to work over 15 years ago building some really unique products, but then it also turned into, outside of just building really dope products, his own journey and us having a mission behind what it is we're building. And that mission is to turn what has been incentivized to be a predatory industry in sports gambling into a force for good. And that's really our focus and our mission. And so what differentiates us in the space, what we feel gives us a unique position to really take advantage of some things that really aren't being paid much attention to, are our products and our business model. Okay, we'll start with the business model. We are the first and only player-owned sports gambling company in the world. And what that means is that 30% of our company, up to 3 million shares, are allocated due to in an SEC compliant way to our user platform, our actual base. We can give that many people equity in the company. And we find that to be very interesting because in our industry, the players create all the value, okay? We know that in gambling, the house always does what? What does the house always do? The house always wins. And so we found a unique way to invite our people to become a part of the house, you know, hence what we're doing here on Republic. And then again, as I mentioned previously, we have some really unique technologies that give us what we consider to be a leg up in the space, seeing as how everyone, in an effort to kind of be first to market, just licensed their technology from Europe because sports gambling has been legal there for the last 25 years. But we took the stairs as opposed to the elevator, and we built our own technology. We have it patented, which is incredibly difficult to do in the sports gambling space. And it would care. It's much more consumer facing, much more social, and far less transactional, which is what we aim to do overall with as we continue to build out the company. And then, you know, there's the safety component of what it is that we're doing in terms of making these products safe for the next generation, our target being Gen Z and millennials. Right now, there are no guardrails in place to be able to make sure that these products are being used responsibly. So that ties into our mission of being able to turn this, you know, the incentive has been so far for the industry leaders to give this demographic, this younger demographic of Gen Z, the tools, unfortunately, to destroy themselves, with obviously sports gambling, you know, the addiction being on the rise. You know, 1 in 5 college-age males, are 20% of that demographic, are suffering from gambling addiction because no one's really responsibly, you know, doing this. And so what we said is our mission ultimately is to be able to, you know, through our foundation, 10% of our company is also owned by a foundation with public benefit corporation. We plan to allocate resources through our, you know, our revenue obviously as well, to offer addiction and recovery services, mental health services to 1 million people. And so ultimately, that's what's driving the machine behind this dope technology. That's what's driving the, you know, the machine behind, you know, this really interesting business model of player ownership. It's important to note that the track made, we got a $600,000 investment that's really allowed us to wrap those, you know, two aforementioned products, a daily number and real-time brackets, into what today is being called Upside. We acquired both of those technologies to, you know, get ready to launch them on platform. We're, as it stands today, we have 40 player advisors that we've been working with for over the past year. It's a company built for and by the people. They've informed us on a bunch of different features and subsets that we never would have imagined. But instead of, you know, what we do in entrepreneurship a lot of times is build really cool things that we think people will like without asking them what they actually think is cool. So we said, well, let's try to shy away from making that mistake. And they've informed us on everything, you know, down to what we should name the company, hence the name Upside. And so we've got some really, really unique insight, you know, in terms of what makes us different and what can make us special in the marketplace. So all of the assets have been acquired, and now we out of this closed beta. The last thing that we really need to do is get the necessary resources, to shore up operational capital to go live. That's upside. To be very brief in a nutshell, that's where we are and who we are.
Thanks so much, Sam. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's funny, man. You mentioned sport, like the athletes, right? Bringing all the value to the sports betting space, and that is clearly true. What's one other thing they can't do? Bet on sports. So it's good to bring them onto your your
Right,
advisory team
right.
there.
Sure, sure, sure.
Well, definitely appreciate you sharing that. And this is a good time to remind everyone tuning in. Ask some questions. Ask some questions through the chat roll here, through the Q&A function in Zoom. We've got one more great founder to hear from, and then we'll get into a Q&A for the last 20 minutes or so. So if you have anything you were curious about, you just weren't sure about, go ahead and send that question through. But with that said, Matt, would love to give you a couple of minutes to tell us some more about zero gravity. If Hey, Matt, are you still around? Maybe we're moving into a Q&A a little earlier.
I hope he comes back.
Yeah, no
really
kidding.
want
I
to
was,
learn
I
more
was
about
pretty
that
excited for
company.
that one. There
There
we
he is.
go. Hey, Matt.
There we go.
Brilliant. Good to see you again here. So yeah, I'll give you a few minutes if you are able to share. I know you got a video for us too, right?
Hopefully. So, hi, I'm Matt Goad. I am the executive chairman and former CEO of Zero Gravity Corporation. We watch in amazement to see astronauts float in the International Space Station or on a SpaceX Dragon in low Earth orbit. What a feeling. Weightlessness, no gravity, and felt by so few. Welcome to Zero Gravity Corporation. We're the only FAA certified company that flies a highly customized Boeing 727 from locations in California, Washington, Texas, Florida, and New York. Over 20,000 people over the last 20 years have flown with us, all safely without incident. We offer this to the public, an experience identical to the one we use to train astronauts, at a price similar to what you pay for an international business class ticket. We offer this to media productions. TV series have been filmed on us, movies, branding, also chartering the plane and creating their own potential way to bring out a brand. More importantly, we provide a platform for mission critical research for the advancement in space to NASA and other space companies. We work with the Department of Defense for our national security. We have no competition and a very deep moat around us. Over the last 5 years, the space industry, SpaceX, Virgin Galactic, Blue Origin, Axiom, and others have become a part of the public consciousness. And with it, our business has grown significantly from $3 million to $15 million this year in revenues, $25 million next, and very, very profitable. And we are just scratching the surface. The demand from all sectors, along with international opportunities, exceed our capacity and the need to add additional aircraft. Our team is as extraordinary as what we provide, led by our CEO, former U.S. Navy Commander Kevin Sprague, a Navy fighter pilot, test pilot, and then developed and led the Blue Origin astronaut training program, bringing Jeff Bezos, William Shatner, and others to space. Our board is myself, me, 5 decades of investing and financing and managing fast-growing companies, as well as advising ultra-high net worth families and private equity funds. Chris Kelly, managing partner of the Sacramento Kings, former chief privacy officer for Meta and a prominent venture capitalist. Ray Cronice, the original founder of Zero G and a true NASA rocket scientist. All of our team members are equity holders. My experience is treating someone like a partner, they act like a partner. In the last 2 weeks, we were featured in a Mr. Beast content with 90 million views and content we developed internally with now over 35 million. I'm going to see if I can get one of those up here. Hang on.
to the $250,000 zero gravity
Yeah.
experience. This company will fly you
Hey,
up and then
Matt.
show some
Yeah.
Not sharing.
gravity
Is
You
it
want to pause
working?
that real quick and try and share the screen?
$250,000 experience
Not working?
starts now.
Well, we can hear it, but we can't see it.
You can't see it.
Oh my
Okay.
God!
Sorry. Oh, well. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I mean, we can try real quick. If you're hitting that green
That's all
share
right.
button, are you seeing the window? Okay.
Not I
We'll
hit the
let you
share
go.
button. Well, I'll just keep on going.
Okay.
So, and again, to follow that, you can just go Mr. Beast YouTube and see that, which is extraordinary. Also, I would recommend going to our IG, which is Go Zero G, and tremendous amount of content there. Where we are as well is we have signed a preliminary agreement for a joint venture, Zero Gravity Asia. We're in discussions with Gulf states, including Saudi Arabia and Europe, to bring flights there. Obviously, to see more about us, go to our Republic site. We would love to have you join us as an investor and become a Zero G ambassador.
Sorry. All right. Coming back. I think I found it. Here's our YouTube link for anyone curious. Wait 20 minutes, though. Let's go watch it in 20 minutes. Brilliant. Yes, Matt, thank you so much for sharing that. What a fascinating life and team that you've had so far. Would love to jump into some Q&A. Again, this is where I activate the audience, send through some questions. I do have a few prepared myself, so I'm going to go ahead and start with those. Let's go ahead and start at the beginning of the line again. Christine and Sarah, I would love to ask you, and for those audience members, you've heard this before, but definitely a question that leads into some really thoughtful, productive answers. You're talking to investors all the time. Maybe this is a different subset of investors that you're typically talking to, Christine and Sarah, but what gets them really excited when you talk about IP3? What are some of the things that excite them versus also some of the things that might have some concerns as well?
So I'll start first, and Sarah, feel free to.
Yeah.
What excites them is, first of all, the credibility of who we work with and who we know in the actual Hollywood industry. But we always ask, what if you could go back to when all your favorite, comics, or when all your favorite, TV shows and Hollywood films were at the very beginning stage of, inception? This is what, Web3 allows for us to kind of start with creators who have a community of people and bring them along for the ride. And actually, another great example of that, even though Michael Uslan, David's father, is known most for Batman, being the originator of Batman, he actually also won an Emmy Award. And this is a very relevant example. He won an Emmy in the 90s because when David was younger, he was obsessed with a video game called Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
Mhm.
And so from that inspiration, his father developed IP that became the show. And so being able to see IP everywhere and being able to start from the beginning, we often see it when it already comes out on TV, when it already has been developed. And so what I love about this is giving a whole investor community, an opportunity to really follow along and learn and even be part of many of our holders, or in many of our members in the NFT communities, or fans of the artists and the creators. They are investors. They are one of our first investors because they want to be able to see, what happens when their favorite artist has their art developed into a comic book and published and seen by more than just this niche community of fans.
So I'll jump in with so people definitely get excited about the IP. We definitely have people, especially from like outside of the Web3 space, asking, well, isn't it really hard to take Web3 brands where the community size maybe is like 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 people? Isn't it easier to kind of do the opposite way, where you're taking a big like Disney brand, for example, and taking it into Web3? Why wouldn't you do that? And the answer is, well, they don't need us for that. If they wanted to do that, they can do that. We're not interested in being a service provider for the big brands who will effectively, utilize us till they know what we do, and then they could take it in-house. That's not a really strong business model. For us, especially for David, our advisors who are, people who have, decades in the entertainment, publishing, brand management, and like consumer goods industries. Like we have Lindsay Sloan, who's the head of Amazon Scripted Television, as one of our advisors. We have John Nee, who used to be I think, head of publishing for Marvel comic books. And he's now the CEO of Cryptozoic, which is a collectibles brand. They do tabletop games and like collectible cards, things like that. So we have a lot of people who look at or look for specifically IP or things with, strong fandom. And we look to these brands and really like only pick the ones that we think really are viable for a big global franchise. And so we not only work with these brands, to develop out the IP for all of these different areas, but we form strategic partnerships all throughout our ecosystem. So we have consumer goods companies, we have lifestyle brand companies, we have food and beverage companies, we have studios and independent production companies, independent producers, animators, all that we have strategic agreements with to be able to actually push out our content where we need it to go. So while, it is maybe harder to take a smaller brand, we have the right people in place and partners in place to be able to do that in a really meaningful way. And we have this group of incredibly avid fans, the biggest fans of the fandom. It's like the OG Star Wars people or the OG, comic book people who basically drive the excitement kind of from where they are outward to the whole world. And that's where these brands are originating from. So we think it's very, very viable and really exciting.
And most importantly, we own it. That is key.
Yes,
We
that's
own
kind of
our IP.
answering another question as well, which
Yeah, the problem we're solving is a lot of times creators come up with an idea and they end up selling all their rights to the studios so early that you get to a point where they don't own anything. They lose creative control. They lose, their vision. And even if it does become a success, if many of you have heard, it's very public news, Squid Games. The creator of Squid Games actually does not own Squid Games anymore, nor does he see any of the upside of that success because the studio system is set up to completely take over great ideas. And so what we want to do is, be able to co-own the IP, leveraging our relationships and take it all through the ride. So, and bring the fans and the investors along with us.
So that is what we do as part of our business model, by the way. We take an ownership stake in all of the co-created IP that that we create alongside with the creators, and we also have our own IP that we then develop out and push out through our ecosystem.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I think that the description there, incubator of entertainment IP, is very descriptive in the sense that these are creators that have put together projects, with lots of potential, but they're navigating something that they're not very familiar with. And you see it in the startup world all the time, where you can get diluted, to a crippling place so early, right before your inflection point of enormous growth. And so, yeah, being able to navigate that alongside some of these creators is obviously hugely important.
This box, every single
Yeah.
box that we have here in the ecosystem are relationships, 2-3 layers deep that we know. So these are all representative of, okay, you want to do a comic book, this is what you need, and here's who we need to call. So just letting you know we've got that set up.
Definitely. Well, Philip, I'd love to pass that same question over to you, and obviously very relevant for those tuning in, as well as just to give you an idea of how you're pitching this company, outside of Republic as well. Tell us a little bit about what gets investors super excited about My Coaching Tree.
Sure. Yeah. So we've got, we divide our investors into two different groups. Those that are in the industry, coaches themselves, which currently represent about 90% of our investors, and those that are outside of the industry. Those that are in the industry they live with the challenges that I represent in the presentation, this shortage of coaches as the industry is starting to grow. It's a significant problem that will really has the potential to create a real train wreck all the way up the chain in the sports industry. So they get excited that there's someone addressing the problem, that there's a solution out there. And that's, I think, what drives a lot of the investment from that group. The investors outside of the industry that don't really understand these concerns, they see all this money funneling into the sports industry right now, and they're excited at an opportunity that's got some traction to see a return on investment, to participate in some of that growth in the sports industry. So you're muted, I think.
I sure am. Thanks once a day. Appreciate that, Philip, and I'm sure Sam might have some same thoughts on there just in terms of the sports industry at large. But Sam, would love to pass that same question over to you. You know, when you and the team are talking to investors, what gets them really psyched about Upside?
It's a fantastic question. It's a couple different things that get them excited about Upside. One being our business model, obviously being player owned. We see in the infancy stages of the industry some of these massive evaluations like DraftKings and FanDuel, upwards to like 11 billion, and I think that one of the latest for DraftKings like 16 billion, and that's because they have the users on the platform. You know, they have 1 million users, and so with us having the opportunity and the bandwidth to have up to 3 million users on our platform owning equity in the company, it's very appealing because it has the opportunity to create that network effect where we can reach that. I know Matt will appreciate this, that escape velocity of that hockey stick style growth. And so they find that really appealing. And then the fact that we have built our own, products, they're patented, and specifically the real-time brackets, the dynamic nature of that game. We successfully launched that with, major media partners with SB Nation, CBS, Sports Illustrated, did a licensing agreement with an average during the March Madness tournament of 4 hours a day being spent on a platform. And so having the patents for that technology coupled with the business model, and what really appeals to us as well, is having folks who understand where the industry is going as a whole. The cat's out of the bag. You can't, regulate away, some of the problems that we might be facing moving forward. Somewhat similar to the pharmaceutical industry. And so for them to understand that and want to be a part of providing a solution for an impending problem is something that, really excites a lot of our investors as well.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it brings a whole, I'm gonna have to try that out actually. It brings a whole new meaning to bracketology right there.
Yeah, man, come on.
Oh, I'm in, man. I'll see you in March and probably sooner. Well, Matt, I would love to round this question up with you. When you're talking to investors about zero gravity, what gets them really excited?
We are really the only way to invest in the manned space industry. I mean, with the exception that you can invest in SpaceX via the private markets at a 180 billion valuation. But we touch all parts of manned space, from training astronauts, research, and bringing like people who want to spend $10,000 for that amazing experience to be an astronaut. So the idea, and then the other thing is there is a gold rush going on in the space industry. The International Space Station is kind of meeting its end, and you have multiple companies looking to develop that next platform. And we are a key part of how to test things, how they would act in space without going to space. So all those things, are just major drivers. And then internationally, we tend to look at things, domestically as far as our space program, but the interest internationally for exposure to this is significant. So there's a lot of drivers of investor interest and, and the excitement of people have. And the other thing is a lot of investors have come from being on our flights. We have one very prominent venture capital partner from Silicon Valley who took his family on a flight last year, had the most amazing time. Afterwards, he said, "Hey, this is extraordinary, unique. Are you looking for capital?" And I said, "Well, we'll chat." And 2 months later, he's an investor. The same with the CEO of one of the top private equity funds in the world, same type of thing, and others. who have come on and they've come off of it saying, oh my God, this is the most amazing experience I've ever had. It changed my life. So we see it from people who have experienced it. We see it from people who see what's going on in the space industry. And for us, it's, we are the only accessible way to do it.
Well, I would hope to see you in March as well. Sounds invigorating. I love it. I will stick with you actually for one more question here, and then we'll move down the line, back in kind of a snake formation here. So we've talked a little bit. Everyone has mentioned the landscape of their particular industry, how that's evolved today, and then how they see that kind of continuing on in the next few years. So, if you want to add any more points to that, definitely excited to hear it. But I'd really love to hear individually, for the specific companies, what's your next big milestone, and how are you going to accomplish that? So
Me?
Matt, I'll start it with you. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So I think our next major milestone is bringing on a second aircraft. And what that does, that has multiple impacts for us. The first one, obviously, is it allows us to meet the needs that we're facing as far as being capacity constrained over the next 2 years. But also from an investor standpoint, it's somewhat algorithmic. I mean, we fly one plane now. If there's an issue with the plane or something like that, which it can happen, it has an effect. So having two planes allows us to more than double our output and significantly reduces the risk in our business. So I think the next real milestone is acquiring our next plane. We have one that we found that fits for us. It'll be about $5-6 million to buy the plane and remod it over the next year. But that will be very, very impactful.
Awesome. Well, yeah, definitely best of luck with that. Sam, would love to ask the same question over to you for Upside. Next huge milestone on your guys' roadmap, and how are you going to accomplish that?
Yeah, our next big milestone is us moving out of our private beta and going to market with our daily fantasy product, Daily Number, and then sequentially real-time brackets. We're just in the process, much like everybody else, of showing up that operational capital. Obviously, we're a sports gambling company, so you're going to need that money before you go to market to make sure that things run smoothly. So that's the next big milestone for us. We're probably running on a timeline of 30 to 45 days or so post operational capital being secured, but we're ready to go to market.
Amazing. Love it.
Yeah.
Philip, would love to ask that same question to you as well. Next huge milestone. How are you going to get that done?
Yeah, so we're already in the market. We're already generating revenue from 4 of our 5 revenue streams. We're operating primarily in the Texas market, although we branched out to 8 other states around the country, working with both high school and some college programs. We've not approached any professional programs yet. Our next big milestone is profitability, and we can achieve that in 12 months. We have product. We've fulfilled our vision for our entire mission for our product with the release of our mobile app next month. So we're not spending any money on IT or product development. We need salespeople and marketing resources to branch out and really push this initiative in all the other states around the country and beyond. So outside of that, we have a real first market advantage here. I'm sure once we start gaining traction, I've done this before, there'll be competitors that'll start to come out of the woodwork. So we're really in a race to get to 250,000 coach members of the 1.3 million coaches in the United States to really establish ourselves as the dominant player in this space.
And that's not to mention the new coaches, the aspiring coaches, those that are still playing the sports, but will ultimately end up on the bench. Yeah, for sure. Christine, Sarah, love to ask that same question to you. Next big milestone on IP3's roadmap rather, and how you're going to accomplish it.
We have a few actually, but the one that is I'm really excited about is we are going to head into 2025. Making an announcement. I want to be careful of things, but for our Asia expansion, and specifically, we will be setting up a joint venture in Japan with some very well-known artists and creators and studios. because unlike when I was young in the 80s and 90s, anime is global now, right? It's not this niche little, kind of a community. It is global. And so we recognize that early on. And what we're excited about is to be able to show that IP from the beginning in this day and age, with all the technology and social media and the way information travels, can be global from the beginning. You don't have to wait until something gets popular in the US before it goes, to another market, especially with this Gen Z generation. So I'm super excited about being able to come out the gate with that. And the other one is Sarah's been working on is we have celebrities, because it's entertainment. You've got to bring in some celebrities. We've got celebrities who, low key being in Hollywood, they are also producers, they are also investors, and they are also creators, and they want to do their own projects. And when I mean celebrities, it's not just your Hollywood type. Sarah's been working with some amazing artists who are well known in the space of both comic artists or studio artists who have been working on, Disney movies and such for a long time, but want and have their own ideas that they want to bring to market. So, Sarah.
Yes. And I think for obvious reasons, it's launching that initial base IP for one of our co-created Web3 brands. We have a number of them, as you could see from one of the slides in the presentation that Christine showed, that are currently in development. Some are further along than others, but in general, it takes somewhere between 6 to 9 months, kind of from inception to launch, for us to launch a piece of IP, whether it's a graphic novel or a video game or a tabletop game, or kind of get it ready for development for a television series or for a film. So, and that's in terms of filmed entertainment. It's a much longer timeline for that. It's just to get it passed off from where we take it and get it over to a production company to actually start getting it into pre-production and everything else. It's kind of that kind of timeline at a minimum. But yeah, so it's launching that initial Web3 co-created brand and into the, I guess we call it the Web2 space, but the non-Web3, outside of the Web3 area, whether it be in publishing, gaming, filmed entertainment, etc.
For sure. Well, what an incredible year and beyond every company has here. So, to everyone who's tuned in, again, last final thank you. We'll definitely see you again next month for the next episode of the Unicorn Hunt. Until then, please visit all the offering pages here for IP3, My Coaching Tree, Upside, and Zero Gravity. Talk on the discussion board, ask some questions. I know everyone here would love to talk to you as well. But all that being said, everyone have a wonderful holiday season coming up. I'll see you in December before that. But to all our panelists, enormous thank you for tuning or for joining us today.
Yeah.